in front of me, I have Titleist's brand new line of GT drivers, and in today's video, we're gonna be testing all of these heads to not only see how they stack up and compare against one another, but also see how they compare against the prior generation TSR3. So let's get right into it. Right guys, so the new GT drivers from Titleist have finally arrived, and in my opinion, they are a pretty big step away from the Titleist norm. So before we get into testing, let's quickly cover some of the details. Now this year, I would say there are three main changes that we should probably cover, and it's all going to start with the crown. So these GT drivers actually have a completely new crown design that Titleist is calling a thermoform crown. Now what they've done is they've replaced what is traditionally a titanium crown with a new proprietary matrix polymer crown instead. And by doing this, it saved them a ton of weight. The new crown is about a third of the weight of the old titanium crown, and they've redistributed this in what they're calling a new split mass construction design. This basically means that some of the extra weight savings are pushed forward for maximizing ball speed, and some are pushed back for maximizing MOI and forgiveness. Now, because of all of these internal changes, Titleist was also able to make some aerodynamic improvements in terms of shaping and design, so we should see some slight club speed gains from these drivers as well. Lastly, the face of all three of these GT drivers has an upgraded speed ring, which basically means that it helps stabilize the face for better ball speed on center strikes. This design is then combined with their variable face thickness, or VFT, which should kind of help you get more ball speed on those missed strikes as well. Now, in terms of models this year, we have three. We're going to start with the GT2, which will be the highest MOI or most forgiving driver in the GT lineup, at least until we see a GT1 possibly at some point in 2025. Then we have GT3, which is going to be a slightly more compact shape and a little bit of a lower spinning design with adjustable heel and toe weighting. And finally, we have the GT4, which is really going to be the lowest launching and lowest spinning design in the lineup for those who struggle with excessive spin or launch, or really just like to look at a smaller head profile. The GT4 is 430 cc's. Now that pretty much covers what I believe are all of the important details that you guys should know about these GT drivers. And I was fortunate enough to test these drivers back in June of this year. So what you're going to be watching in this video is my initial testing and first impressions of the entire GT driver lineup. That being said, guys, if there's any other testing you'd like to see between these GT drivers, maybe in different configurations or up against other OEMs, go ahead and drop those recommendations in the comments down below, and I will do my absolute best to get those videos made in the future. Nonetheless, guys, let's go ahead and get into the testing. Alrighty, guys, so the way that we're going to go ahead and work through this testing today is we're going to start with my old gamer, the Titleist TSR3 9-degree A1 setting, with my current gamer shaft, the Mitsubishi Tensei 1K Pro Blue 60X, gauge some numbers, and then we'll move up into each of the GT models, GT2, GT3, GT4, all at 9 degrees. Nonetheless, TSR3 has been a phenomenal driver. Now, to be fair, it's not my current gamer driver, but if I wasn't using QI10, this is what I would be using, and I really have no complaints with the TSR3. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It's fast, it feels good, it's a very solid head. Now, taking a look at it down at address, I mean, you got that pear-shaped head, very clean, classic Titleist look, using Pro V1 golf balls, which is my current gamer golf ball as well. All right, so right off the bat, a little low on the face, kind of got on top of it, maybe a touch spinny there. 169, 2800, 290, 11 launch. So actually pretty solid start. Now it is pretty windy, guys. It's like into a significant wind that's kind of out of the right as well. That was really solid. 172, 298, 11.8, 2700. I mean, I actually think a lot of people have underappreciated how fast TSR is. Again, turning over a little bit, 171, 303, 12.3, 2400. I mean, if we're being straight, I really think this is gonna be hard to beat. That one was pretty good, pretty much dead straight. 170, 300, 12.8, 2600. I mean, very well rounded. Well, one more, but I think we're kind of averaging around maybe 70 and a half ball, 71. That one kind of got on top of, pulled it a little bit, but totally fine. I mean, that's probably gonna find the left side of the fairway, and really good ball speed. 172, 292, 97, 2900. Right, guys, so now moving up into the Titleist GT2. This model has been the one that's excited me the most, really, because when you're looking at tour, guys, a lot of higher speed players have moved into GT2. We'll start with the shape of it. So obviously a little bit elongated from front to back, but it's a really, really good shape. I thought TSI2 looked way too long. TSR2 was a huge improvement, and once again with GT2, GT2 really still gives off players vibes in terms of driver shape down at address. The big thing I'm noticing, pretty square face angle, and then on the face, they've actually laser etched some alignment lines. If you've been seeing on tour, a lot of guys have been taking a Sharpie and going up and down the face and kind of giving themselves an alignment on the face that they can see down at address, and that is something they've done with these drivers, so it feels very easy to align. All right, so first thing I noticed right off the bat, you can really feel the difference in the crown. Obviously, they've got a polymer crown this time around, and you can tell, I don't want to say quite TaylorMade like, but maybe more in that realm, maybe more in between if you took a TSR and a QI10 and they had a kid. That's kind of how this felt off the face. 168 ball, 290, 13.3, 2800. That's a miss right there that was kind of feeling a little bit spinny and still stayed below 3000 spin, which is very, very solid. Again, missed it, but immediately for me, I really like the window this is launching in. Numbers-wise, amazing. That was a Healy miss, 172 ball and a Healy miss, 297 carry, 11.5 launch, 2800. All right, that one, pretty out of the center. Maybe got a little on top of it, which is why it came out a little bit lower, but that is unfreaking believable. 175 ball speed, so 3 mile an hour jump, 302 carry, 10.4, 2600, maybe slightly toey one, and it just didn't drop and spin. That was good. Maybe a little Healy, little spinny, and it was. 172, 291, 12.1, 3100. I think for me on that miss, if it could be at 3100, I'd be very happy with that. But again, that's a little miss, and we're at 72 ball, which is the fastest we got with TSR3. Okay, that one was kind of a high toey one, little divey. It'll be interesting to see where the spin goes. Yeah, so I mean, that's on me. I got a little on top of it, but 176 ball speed, 2500 spin. So it didn't drop and spin drastically, which is what I love. 10.3 launch because I got a little on top of it, 306 carry. This one is definitely in the lead right now, I would say, in terms of numbers. But we're gonna go ahead and move up into GT3 now. Very similar shape to TSR3. I mean, I think you'd be crazy to sit here and say this looks way different. Face angle, very square. Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is the feel and sound. It just feels, like I said, it's not quite maybe carbon-like, but it's kind of in between a TSR3 and a QI10. In terms of numbers, 171, 13 launch, 2300 spin, so a little bit lower spin, like you would expect, 308 carry. I mean, me personally, I love the feel. I mean, I've been a really big fan of the QI. I love how that feels off the face. It's just not so like tinny and loud. Not that TSR is super tinny and loud, but it's definitely more up there. 174 ball speed, super solid. 9.6 launch, 2800, 298. So a slight miss there, a little bit low face, and we still got 174 ball speed out of it, which is 2 miles an hour faster. But look, I think the big thing you guys might be noticing is I'm like, I missed that a little bit and the ball speed is still up. That's what I'm noticing with GT3. Yeah, that was just kind of like a Healy misdraw right there. But again, dude, 174, 306, 11.3, 2500. That one I tried to hammer, kind of hit like a high draw. It just doesn't seem like it's diving out of the sky. You know, I kind of hit like that high toe spot on the face, and it didn't. 2300 spin, phenomenal. 12 launch, 175, 313. All right, that was a horrible swing, but I completely slipped. So still 173 out of it. That one I was afraid of slipping. Super toey. Be very interested to see where the spin drops. And the spin only dropped to 2300 on a huge high toe snipey one. 175 ball, 11.6, 306. This is really good. I would say for me, the biggest things I'm noticing, it is faster. It seems very consistent in terms of top to bottom launch and spin. And I personally do like the feel more over TSR3. It's going to be a tough choice between those two drivers, if we're being honest. But we'll move up into GT4. We're going to hit it and see how we get on with it. So this GT4 has the heavy weight in the front. Obviously, with this head, it makes the most sense. Taking a look down at it, in terms of shaping, very similar to the 3. It's just smaller, is the best way I would describe it. Feel-wise, actually much different. I think just because all that mass is forward, it feels a little bit more tinny, a little bit hotter off the face. 169 ball, and I would say probably our biggest miss of the day. 9.5 launch, 280, 3100 spin. Yeah, I mean, this one feels hotter, but I can just feel the dispersion. Like, I just know this is going to be kind of all over the place, especially if you start missing it. 174 ball speed, very solid. 305 carry, 10.2, 2300. Relatively low spin. I want to say that was a pretty decent strike. It just didn't have a lot of launch and spin on it, and that's around 2250. I'd like to say GT3 was somewhere around 2450, and I think GT2 was probably somewhere closer to like 26, somewhere in there. So there's probably a 200 RPM difference between each of the heads is basically what I'm seeing. Yeah, I mean, this one just doesn't quite suit me. I'm not really looking for super low spin and kind of giving up forgiveness for that. 173 ball, 293, 9.5, 2900. Low face it there, which is why I got a little spinny. Yeah, I'm just kind of spraying this thing. I mean, it's still quick. It's very tough for me. I'm kind of weary about having it dive out of the sky, and so I'm trying to manipulate where I'm hitting it on the face. Not super comfortable in terms of what I like to see down at address, just a little bit small for me. But that's GT4. I think out of the center, again, a little bit lower spinning, a little bit lower launching. I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go back to GT2. Hit a couple more with this. Yeah, this is very solid. It really hits the launch window I'm looking for. It's fast and it's consistent. 175, 301, 12, 2900. I really like this head. Got on top of it, but it's just not like diving on me, which I love. 176, 2450, 10.6, 308. This is gonna be hard to beat. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little skeptical about GT2, but I'm telling you, I'm hitting these hard and I'm hitting these how I normally would, and it's not too high launch and too spinny, which is kind of something that I had a little bit of an issue with when it comes to TSR2. Now what we're gonna do is go ahead and hit GT3 10, turn down to 9.25, and see if this gives me maybe a little bit more launch, a little bit more spin. Yeah, and that's a little bit higher, definitely a little bit more spin. 173, 13, 2900, 298. So for me, guys, like, I'll be honest with you, what I'm looking for on a good strike, which is gonna be a slight cut for me, actually. Obviously, this wind is pushing out of the right, which is kind of making these draw, but I'm probably looking for about 2700. So when I hit that high toe one, it drops to like 23, and if I hit one a little spinny, it gets to like 31. That's really my window. I'm not looking for crazy optimal on my best drive. I'm looking for consistency on all my drives to make sure I'm still keeping it in play, even when I'm missing it across the face, maybe not swinging it the best that day. So for that to be at 2874 spin, very happy with that. That's the only thing I worry about with this GT3 head. Because of that mass forward, when I do hit that high toe one, it's just a little divey. And I think, again, because it's a little bit deeper, it just wants to launch a little bit lower. 176, which is very quick, 10.8, 2800, 299. That was very solid. Little spinny, 11.9, 174, 295, 3100. What's really interesting, guys, I would say, is the fact that GT2 almost seems faster than the 3, which is weird. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I'm lining up my strike location with the CG better, but it is very fast. That was really good, though. That might be our fastest. And it was. 177, 11.8, 309, 2500. I really like this head. I'm really torn right now. But, I mean, just looking at these numbers, 177 ball, and our highest with TSR3 was 172. And this has slightly more loft. Cannot begin to describe to you how insane that is. We'll go back to GT3 at 9. 175, 301, 11.4, 2900. I don't know, guys. This one's really good too. 177, 10.3, 2800. I'm super torn right now. We might have to do some more testing down the road because I could really game probably any of these 3 heads. We'll go a couple more with GT2. Max ball speed we got was 77. That's the thing about the 2 that is just so nice. I mean, I literally hit that off the shaft and it went dead straight, 174 ball speed. The 2 for me is the one that is standing out the most for sure. 9.5, 3000 spin, 293 carry. I mean, that's insane. Literally almost missed the face. And I'm trying to hit that hard with the draw right there. 178. This 2 is insane. For this to have a further back CG, like supposed to be a little bit higher launch, a little bit more spin, and I think it's faster than the 3. Now, the one thing I am gonna do really quickly, guys, before we get out of here, is I do wanna hit a couple more with TSR3, just to kind of confirm these speed gains, because they're a little aggressive. For me to say I'm picking up 6 miles an hour, I don't want that to be a sham statement. So we'll go back to TSR3, 9 degree. Yeah. 172, 10.9, not the best swing, 3,300. So, I mean, just immediately, the big thing is the spin consistency on GT is better because I think the highest we got to was like 31, and that's 33. And then on an off-center strike, that's 72, and I think GT would have been like 74. So that's what I'm seeing immediately. And it's funny, it's just off the face, it doesn't feel as consistent. I mean, that's very quick, 176, 2900. I think GT would have been closer to like 2800, 2850, 295, 10.4. So, I mean, look, TSR3 is plenty quick. I don't think you're gonna be picking up 6 miles an hour like we were originally seeing, but I do think you're gonna be getting probably 2-ish, maybe 3, especially on the off-center strikes. That's the big thing for me that I'm seeing. That was really good though. That was an off-center strike and it got 175, 98, 30, 100, 294. I'm gonna try to just absolutely nuke one. No, I mean, that's a low spin one, but it just wasn't that quick. 173. No. And that's the big thing. Like, to me, it's just not as consistent. I mean, that's dropping to 1950. Quick ball, but it's not quite there for me, guys. All right, that's probably as good as I can hit it. 174, spinny, 3100, 11.7, 296. It's funny because, like, for me to complain about those numbers is kind of insanity because they're actually very, very good numbers. But, like, this is just better. I don't know how else you want me to put it. We'll go 2 more with GT3 at 9. Try to max it out. The fastest we got was 76 with TSR3. And that was a miss, and it was 77. Like, that was a huge miss. And 3100 spin on a huge miss. So it's better. I don't know what else you guys want me to say. I'm a little shocked.
So our height and our launch window is good, but
I mean, that was not a good swing. 181. Get the fuck out of here, dude. That is absolutely absurd. I mean, for me personally, I think that's why I would go with the 2 over the 3. Just because when I get on top of that, that's coming out a little bit low launch with not a ton of spin, and I would want that extra help that the 2 is giving me. But these are unbelievable, guys. Absolutely superb. I am very, very impressed. Alrighty guys, so that was our testing of the Titleist GT driver lineup. What I really want to do now is kind of quickly break down each of the heads and then my overall opinions on the drivers. So starting with GT4, this is going to be the smallest head in the lineup, lowest launch, lowest spin. It's not a head I would fit into personally. I feel like with the driver, you want as much mass as possible, just the most forgiveness possible. So it's not something I would use, very specific. If you're somebody who needs super low spin, I think it is going to be the head to test, maybe that and the GT3. Now, GT4 in terms of looks, basically looks like a 3, just a smaller version of it is the best way I would describe it. Maybe slightly deeper face, but pretty much just a smaller 3. Now the GT3, this driver looks pretty much exactly like the TSR3 in terms of shaping. The real differences I noticed between this head and the TSR3, first and foremost, when you're looking down at it at address, you've got those 2 new alignment lines on the face, those laser etched alignment aids. Those make it look like the driver maybe has a little bit more loft. I just think it really is there to help with alignment. I'd be very curious to see what you guys think of those lines. I think some people are gonna love them and some people are gonna absolutely hate them. In terms of sound and feel, it's different. TSR3 is a little bit tinnier, a little bit louder. It's not a bad sounding driver by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, I think it sounds and feels really good. GT3 is just a little bit more toned down with that polymer crown. It's not quite as dead or quiet as something carbon, but it is a little bit more muted. It is really, really nice sounding. It's hard to describe. I don't know if you can hear it on camera, but it does sound really good and it feels really good. It feels like just as hot as the TSR3 with a little bit more of a muted sound. It's very, very well done from that perspective. Now GT2, obviously you're gonna have that little bit longer head from front to back. It's a little bit less players inspired in terms of shaping, but again, I think it looks really good. I mean, if you compare it to something like a QI10 core model, to me, it looks a little bit more players-like than that. It's a very, very nice shape. It's something that I think I would say I've had a problem with the 2 models in the past. They've always looked a little bit too big, a little bit too, like they're gonna go high launch, high spin on me, and kind of getting back into launch and spin. What's really nice about the GT2 from what I saw compared to TSR2 is it is a little bit lower spin on the highest spin shots. It is a little bit lower launch on the highest launch shots. So if you're somebody who really wanted to like TSR2, but it was just a little bit too high launch, a little bit too high spin, I think GT2 is going to be the driver to try. That is what I found. I ended up really liking the GT2 model. Now those are kind of the different models and how they compare maybe against one another, but the things I really want to cover about these drivers, there's 3 main things. Obviously, I talked about the look. The feel and sound to me is a big difference in these drivers. They just sound a little bit more muted, a little bit more dead, kind of like I just mentioned. The crown is now sort of a plastic material, we'll say. It helps them save weight, kind of push the center of gravity a little bit lower. I believe with the GT2, they've pushed the CG lower and also further back. So should be a little bit lower spin like I saw, and also really forgiving. I really found the GT2 very forgiving. GT3, again, they're able to push that CG a little bit lower because of the lighter crown, and I saw it lower spin on my highest spin shots. I think with TSR3, we got up to 3,300 RPMs of spin, and with GT3, the highest we got was like 3,100 RPMs of spin. So that spin window stays a little bit tighter. Now, what I really liked about the spin of these drivers is obviously the top spin was a little bit lower, but the bottom spin wasn't too low. Usually the big problem is when you get drivers that become a little bit lower spin, they become way too low spin on the high toe shot, which is my big predominant miss, I would say. These were not like that. Now, those kind of cover the little minute things about the GT drivers, but for me, the number one thing, the biggest thing I saw in these drivers is speed. These drivers are freaking fast. I hate to keep glazing. I'm sure you guys are like sick of it. You want to go hit these. First and foremost, let's talk about off-center strikes. So from my understanding, basically they combined the variable face thickness of the TSR2 with the speed ring of the TSR3 into one. So basically, this is a hot driver off the middle of the face, and then especially on the off-center strikes, it still stays up in terms of ball speed. Like I said, and like you guys saw during testing, off-center strikes were really good from that perspective. But the number one thing that I think might fly under the radar about these drivers, and frankly, they didn't really even talk to me much about when I was testing the drivers and talking to the Titleist people, is the aerodynamics. These drivers are unbelievably good from an aerodynamics perspective. For me personally, you saw the highest ball speed I got was 181 with the GT3. With my TSR3, I believe it was 176. That's 5 miles an hour, and you're probably wondering, how is that even possible? Faces are maxed out from a ball speed perspective, right? Yes, that is the case, but if you're able to make a driver more aerodynamic and also keep the face thinness, you're gonna pick up a little bit of ball speed, and that's exactly what I saw. On my top speed shot with the GT3, I believe I was 3 miles an hour quicker club head speed than the TSR3. The drivers just simply have less drag than the TSR models, which is why out of the center, I was seeing faster ball speed because I was seeing faster club speed. Now, normally the big issue with this is you can make a driver better aerodynamically, but you're also going to lose a little bit of ball speed because you have to change up the center of gravity. With the GT drivers, that's not what I saw. Smash factor was still staying high, which is incredibly important. If you pick up club speed but lose smash factor, you're not really gonna gain any ball speed. What I was seeing was the smash factor was the exact same with more club head speed, which equates to more ball speed. As a whole, guys, these are just simply really good drivers. I really hate to be the guy that tests the new driver and says, oh yeah, it's better. These are better. I don't really know how they did it. TSR was an incredible product. Coming into this fitting, I did not really think these were gonna be any better, to be completely honest. And frankly, when I first saw the pictures of them, they looked pretty bland, but it's one of those drivers where it's kind of all under the hood, which is funny, right? Because they're calling it GT. When you think of GT, it's a car term. All of the tech in these drivers is under the hood. You don't really notice it when you're looking at them, but they are really, really special heads. I'm very excited for you guys to test them. And if you've had the chance to test them, I would love to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and drop those in the comments down below. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, guys, be sure to give it a like. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and you click that notification bell so you are notified anytime that we post a new video. Additionally, make sure you're following us on our other social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Always great content on those channels as well. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.